Hi everyone, welcome back to Laracademy. It's Mickey again, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at an application that I've been developing over the last little while that I hope will help you maintain and organize your documents. Now, everyone really loves the way that Taylor has done the Laravel documentation, and this is what the application aims to do. You can see here on the left we have some sections, and within each of these sections there's also something that we call categories. We can click on the categories and read more about, say, the service container, which basically has a Markdown file, or you can go to another category, such as providers, and read the documentation on that. Now let's switch over to our application called Laradocs. You can see here on the left, we have sections, and underneath each of these sections, we also have the categories. We can click on these categories to read more information, say about configuration, which in the back end is basically just a Markdown file. If we switch over to the administration side by logging in, you can see we're brought to a very simple page here. This page actually outlines the documents that we have installed on our system. From this page, I can see that I have one documentation version running, and it is the master. It is also set to the defaults when the user accesses the page. It is active, it has a start page. I have 7 documents contained in this version, and finally I can edit the navigation. If we take a second and just look at the documents, these documents pertain only to the version master. In here, we can delete, edit, or create a new document. Each of these documents, when we edit or create them, you can see that we have a nice Markdown editor here, which we can preview, and it gives a quick overview of how we're doing with our documentation and if it actually looks nice. Let's cancel out of here and go back to our documentation and look at the navigation. Here we can set up the sections, and then within each of these sections we can have the categories. The links on the right allow us to edit the navigation, or it will take us directly to the associated document for that section. Now let's take a look at some of the power of Laradocs. All of the Laravel documentation is kept inside Github. Laravel and his crew maintains this documentation, although anyone can edit this and update it with a pull request, and these edits and updates are kept within the master branch. Using GitHub and Laradocs, we can easily take the 4.2 branch and create our own documentation. Back over in Laradocs, let's click on Documentation, and at the top let's create a new version. Let's call it Laravel 4.2, and we don't have any documents in this version, so this will be empty. Let's leave the default as no and make sure it is active so it will show on our page. Now the next step will be creating these documents for the 4.2 documentation. So we could come in here and we could add a document title, and then we could switch over to GitHub, we could find that document, let's see, installation, and then we can view the raw file, select everything, copy it, come back to Laradocs and paste it in, and then save it. Now that seems like quite a fair bit of work. So what we can actually do is we can import our files. This will allow us to import Markdown files from GitHub. And we do this by using a personal access token, which we set up here in the site settings. So to get started, all we have to do is say what version we want to import the files to. We want to say the repository name. In our case, it is just docs. So we'll have that typed in. And the owner is Laravel. And finally, what branch we want. And let's grab the 4.2 branch. And last but not least, because Taylor keeps all the documentation in a single folder, we don't have to tell it what folder in the repository to pull the information from. So we're going to go ahead and import these files. Let's just give this a second. And you can see that successfully imported 45 files. We can find these 45 files underneath our Laravel 4.2 documents. Now let's edit the navigation and create a quick structure here based on the Laravel 4.2 docs. So let's go ahead and add a section. We'll say preface. And let's add one more called Getting Started. Now once we have these sections, we can add a new document. So this is one that doesn't exist, but in our case, let's choose Add Existing. We'll find the documents that we need inside the dropdown, and over here we can override the title. So you can see here we have a lowercase I. Let's change this introduction to an uppercase. And let's add another document. So let's also look for the quick start, and I will give it a title. We'll do the same with getting started. Let's add existing documents. So let's look for the installation, add another one, and let's also find the configuration. And the last thing I want to do is head back to the documentation, click on Laravel 4.2 because we want to assign the start page. This will display all of the pages within our documents. Let's find the installation page, and let's update this version. Now if we switch over to the site, you can see we have our master version here. So this is the current documentation for Laradocs. But up here we have the 4.2, and this is the one that we were just working on. We can click any of the sections and categories, and this will load up the Markdown file in which we can read more information. We can also switch back to the master if we want and fool around with that. And with that, that brings this demonstration to an end. I hope you find this application useful, and I plan on getting it out in the next week or two. Thanks again for watching.